Lando Norris reveals how he will change racing against Max, Alpine is ready to make some big signings, and silly season intensifies as Haas is set to announce driver lineup soon. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Now let's get straight into the latest F1 news. When Alpine first announced the appointment of Flavio Briatore, there was plenty of skepticism. Whilst the public reception to Briatore's return is largely unchanged, the 74-year-old is already pushing for aggressive maneuvers at Enstone. One of them is the recruitment of Mattia Binotto, who is firmly on the Alpine radar once again. After a difficult start to 2024, it was deemed that Alpine required a change in direction and vision. Briatore was brought in by Renault CEO Luca De Meo to lead this evolution and rectify the team's downward trend. Perhaps most significantly, it has emerged that Alpine could relinquish their manufacturer status. The team is seriously exploring options elsewhere to become a customer team in 2026. With the Renault engine proving more of a liability than an asset, Alpine are open to a different approach. Whilst this is a controversial idea deemed by many as counterproductive, the prospect of Ferrari or Mercedes powering the French squad's F1 cars is having an impact in the market. Both drivers and engineers are intrigued by the new path that Alpine could pursue. Alpine have tried to recruit Binotto in the past. Their efforts were unsuccessful for many of the reasons that have made Enstone an unattractive destination in recent seasons. At this stage last year, the former Ferrari man is unlikely to have been excited by the prospect of resurrecting the Renault engine. Alpine's wavering commitment to their own power unit is evidence enough of their engine department's reputation. However, Briatore now oversees a team in negotiations with Ferrari and Mercedes. Both these manufacturers could be willing to power Alpine at the right price and the right conditions. The potential for a change in engines is understood to be an important development for Mattia Binotto. Taking a similar view to Carlos Sainz, he sees Alpine as a far more exciting prospect if they elect to use different power units in 2026. Therefore, the former Ferrari man is again firmly under consideration at Enstone. Unlike 12 months ago, movements are happening behind the scenes that could help to persuade the 54-year-old. Potentially working with a top engine, either Ferrari or Mercedes, is undoubtedly a motivating factor. McLaren are proving that even customer teams can fight at the front, and Alpine could benefit from someone with Binotto's experience. In a comparable fashion to Andy Cowell's appointment at Aston Martin, Briatore is evaluating the role Binotto could fulfill at Alpine. Binotto's role would have an emphasis on overseeing the team's progression from a more macro perspective. As proven throughout his early days at Ferrari, Binotto can make a positive contribution to engine development. After years of disappointment and frustration, Flavio Briatore is being entrusted with making the necessary changes, however bold, to rectify the situation at Enstone. Lando Norris is adamant that he would not change what he did in battle with Max Verstappen at the Austrian Grand Prix, having reviewed everything. Norris and Verstappen collided while dueling for the lead on lap 64 of 71 at the Redbull ring last Sunday, with both drivers suffering punctures in the incident. The clash opened the door for George Russell to collect Mercedes' first victory since the penultimate race of the F1 2022 season, ahead of Norris's McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri. While Norris retired upon his return to the pits, fifth-placed Verstappen ended up extending his World Championship lead over the McLaren man to 81 points despite being hit with a 10-second penalty for causing a collision. Verstappen and Norris are likely to return to battle at this weekend's British Grand Prix at Silverstone, where the pair were separated by 3.7 seconds in first and second place respectively a year ago. Speaking ahead of his home race, Norris has revealed he wouldn't have changed the way he took the fight to Verstappen at the Red Bull ring. He told Radio X, "In general, I'm feeling good. I'm very excited for the British Grand Prix. But at the same time, I reviewed everything. We've gone over stuff, and let's say I won't really change what I did. I was fighting, and that's what we want. We want to fight. We don't want to complain. We don't want things to end like they did, both from Max's side and from my side. So that's life sometimes. We're fighting, we both want to win, and we're going to push it to the limits, some slightly more than others. But at the same time, I'm excited. We're going to have more fights together, and I look forward to those times." Despite the stewards hitting Verstappen with an in-race penalty and 2 penalty points on his super license, opinion remains divided on the incident. Speaking minutes after the incident, Norris's team principal at McLaren, Andrea Stella, claimed the FIA's failure to punish Verstappen properly for a series of incidents with Lewis Hamilton in 2021 had emboldened the Red Bull driver to race with such aggression. Meanwhile, Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko described the clash as a racing accident and took issue with Norris's pathetic behavior over team radio for complaining about Verstappen's defensive tactics. Norris acknowledged that there are people on both sides of the debate, claiming it is impossible to judge such fine margins between cars from the cockpit. He said, "There's people on both sides. It's tough. It's a lot harder to do some things when you're behind the wheel. It's never as easy as saying, 'Why did you do that? Why didn't you do this?' Because when you're in the car and you're making these decisions, it's so hard to be as accurate as what it looks like on TV. So when it is those 2 centimeters than it should be or stuff like that, it's almost impossible to judge. But that's what it is, that's the competition we're against, and we love it. We want to go out and race hard, and we want it to be easy because we just want to win. But at the same time, it puts a smile on our face when we can have that competition in a race, and I think it's good for everyone watching. If it's not anything else, it's entertaining." At the beginning of February, Haas revealed that Oliver Bearman would drive in 6 FP1 sessions this year. This was the first concrete indication that Haas were strongly considering the 19-year-old for an F1 contract. Having impressed Team Principal Ayao Komatsu, Bearman will race for Haas F1 team in 2025. An announcement is expected tomorrow. For some time now, the 19-year-old has been linked to a full-time F1 seat. His last-minute substitute appearance for Ferrari in Jeddah, having taken pole position in Formula 2 on Friday, only improved his chances of joining Formula 1. Speaking of Formula 2, it must be said that Bearman has struggled this year. After establishing himself as a front-runner in his rookie campaign, results have been more difficult to come by in 2024. A combination of misfortune, underperformance from Prema, and other factors have all played a role. However, Ayao Komatsu clarified earlier in the year that Bearman's free practice appearances would be more important than his F2 results in Haas's evaluation. With the decision to give Bearman a contract already made, the British driver's tricky F2 campaign clearly had very little impact. Bearman. Much like when Sauber confirmed Nico Hülkenberg in April, Haas will only announce Bearman's contract tomorrow. The American outfit is still undecided on who will partner the 19-year-old. An obvious contender for the seat is Kevin Magnussen, who first joined Haas in 2017. Magnussen's chances of a contract renewal have not been stellar until now, to say the least. However, strong results like the one he secured in Austria will improve his chances. Whilst there are other options in the market, they are not spectacular enough for Ayao Komatsu to write off the Dane. Among those linked to a Haas seat in 2025 is Esteban Ocon. However, the Frenchman is also negotiating with other teams, including Williams. With Carlos Sainz yet to sign a contract, there could be movements from other drivers in the market. In this unpredictable climate, potential replacements for Magnussen, like Ocon, could commit themselves elsewhere. This makes it difficult to pinpoint a favorite to drive for Haas next year. As ever, the situation could change relatively quickly. Haas traditionally wait until the end of the season before confirming their full driver lineup. Because of this, Gene Haas and Ayao Komatsu could sometime before deciding who will drive alongside Oliver Bearman next year. Daniel Ricciardo has said Liam Lawson's upcoming testing of a previous F1 car, TPC test, is not a source of concern for him, with the RB driver instead looking to control the controllables. Rumors over Ricciardo's future at RB have swirled after a mixed season so far, with Red Bull reserve driver Lawson searching for a way onto the F1 2025 grid. Lawson is scheduled to test a 2022 car in the coming weeks as Red Bull assess him for a potential F1 2025 promotion, with Helmut Marko revealing earlier this year that the New Zealander will be free to sign for another team if Red Bull do not take up their option on him for next year. The RB seat currently occupied by Ricciardo is the only one uncontracted in the Red Bull stable for next season, with Sergio Perez and Yuki Tsunoda both earning new contracts last month. While Ricciardo's form has improved of late, with a strong Canadian Grand Prix followed up by points in Austria, the former Red Bull and McLaren driver acknowledged that he needs to kick ass in order to adjust the narrative in his favor moving forward. Ricciardo was brought back to a race seat last season in place of Nyck de Vries after impressing in a Pirelli tire test for Red Bull following last year's British Grand Prix, but is wishing Lawson all the best in his upcoming outing in an F1 2022 car. When asked if Lawson's upcoming test is a source of worry for him, Ricciardo told media including PlanetF1.com, "No, also I believe it's been planned for a while. But in any case, it's one of those ones where I think also the older you get, you understand that, you control the controllables. If Liam goes and has an amazing test, 100% good for Liam, I've got no control over that. Do I wish him poorly? Not at all. I think obviously currently I'm in the race seat, so I've got to do everything I can to control the things I can and kick ass here. If I kick ass at Silverstone, then I think the narrative can change. So I think that's where I obviously have to own that and be on top of what I can do, and I'm sure that qualifying 5th in Montreal made Helmut smile. If I can do that a few more times, then I'm sure I'll make him smile. So it's still so heavily on performance, and I'll just keep focused on that. Thanks for watching the video. See you in the next one.